Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special meeting of the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees on Monday, June 26, 2023. I am calling the meeting to order at 7:31. Joe's got the recording going, so we should be ready to go. Our got to a call to order tonight is I'm going to take a roll call, so I will do that now. Drew Riedel.
Yeah.
Carolyn Greenwald. Here. Wolfgang Bowman.
Here.
Susan Anson. Here. And Ronnie Hardaway is here too. So we're all ready to go on this week. Thank you all for coming for this special meeting. The next order of business is our public comment period. This is a period that is open for attendees in the room or on video conference to make a brief public comment on any topic that is not already on our agenda. Do we have anyone who would like to speak?
Hi, Ronnie. This is Lorraine Capagrosi. I'm here tonight representing the Village Planning Board.
Hi, Lorraine. Thank you. And good evening. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I move that we close the public comment period.
Second.
Susan Ainsley seconds. All those in favor of closing the public comment period say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you. All right. The next order of business is to approve two sets of draft minutes that Joey has kindly provided us, both for the June 5th and June 15th meetings. I believe we were all in attendance at those meetings, so we can approve them both at the same time. I will open our discussion on or move that we approve these minutes on June 5th and 15th of 2023. I need a second.
Second.
Drew seconds. Is there any discussion or concerns about the draft minutes? None? Okay, last chance. Okay. As usual, you did a very good job. I have no none either, so hearing no comments, I will move that we approve the draft minutes of June 5th and 15th and make them final minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Tonight we have a presentation, a special presentation from Agnes Guillo from Cornell Cooperative Extension. Agnes has been, she's a community educator with CCE. Agnes has been, for a little while now, been supporting our Climate Smart Communities and Clean Energy Communities Task Force. And she had asked to come in tonight as part of her responsibilities on the Energy and Climate Change team on a topic that we probably have heard in the past, you might not have heard recently. The Lansing non-pipes alternative. So Agnes, if you're ready to go, we're ready for you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for the introduction, Ronnie. I am all ready to go. I'm wondering if it is possible to share my screen with a couple of PowerPoint slides.
Jody is giving you permission right now.
Perfect. And I apologize if you guys hear the storm on my end. I'm sure that you guys also hear it on your end, but it seems to be just about coming down here.
Oh, that's okay. I'll give you mine, of course. Should be ready to go, Agnes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, are you all able to see my screen right now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, So, thank you so much for having me tonight. I am really excited to talk to you all about the Non-Pipes Alternatives Program, which I represent at Cornell Cooperative Extension. And this is a program that offers incentives for gas customers in Lansing, New York that are interested in upgrading to heat pumps. Oops. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so before we dive in, just a little bit about myself. I've been a resident of this area for the past 6 years. I just recently finished my degree at Cornell. And upon my graduation, I began working at Cornell Cooperative Extension on the Energy and Climate Change team, where I serve as the community educator for Lansing's Non-Pipes Alternatives program. So to go more in depth about what the Non-Pipes Alternatives Program is, it is a program that's supporting people in a transition away from using gas to power homes. And so this program actually has a portfolio, or it funds a portfolio of 6 diverse projects throughout our county, 4 of which four of which have already been funded and, or sorry, 4 of which have already been put underway. And so you might be somewhat familiar with some of the 4. Of course, Lansing Central School is getting some higher efficiency boilers in order to help them reduce their gas consumption throughout the buildings. The Cornell Child Care Center is having a geothermal heat pump system installed this summer. There is an education and outreach component, which is my role through Cornell Cooperative Extension. And then there's also what we are calling a community campaign. And so I want to talk to you a little bit more tonight about what the community campaign is. So I guess before I jump into what the community campaign is, I want to just establish that there are incentives available statewide for individuals interested in upgrading to heat pump technology. However, this community campaign is offering an exclusive additional funding for residents who live within this colorful map here that I will point out, that live within these colorful zones. So primarily Lansing, and then Cayuga Heights, a bit of the city of Ithaca, and then, you know, pushing into Dryden here. So individuals who live within these colorful zones and are gas customers are offered additional funding beyond what is just offered statewide to all residents if they choose to upgrade to heat pump technology. So to explain this a little bit more, individuals who live here within this pink zone are eligible for 100% of the additional funding offered through the NPA or Non-Pipes Alternatives Program. Individuals who live here within this orange zone are eligible for 40% of that additional funding, and individuals who live within this green zone are eligible for 10% of the additional funding. And so why would individuals want to upgrade to heat pump technology? The heat pumps that are being offered through this incentive program are equipment that will help you both heat and cool your home, as well as provide domestic hot water production in your house. And so there are many benefits associated with this type of technology, including health, economic, environmental, and community benefits that we're already starting to see around the county. In order to access these additional incentives, you have to work directly through the Earth Sensitive Solutions organization. And through Earth Sensitive Solutions, they assign you, or so you either can be assigned or choose one of these
Agnes, you're frozen. Can you hear us? Storm knock her off for a second, just temporarily. Interesting.
Do you know the answer to the question of, she says 100% of the incentive program, do you know how much the incentive program pays out?
No,
Oh, there, it's in that paper, if you go to her website.
yeah, give her a chance to come back.
What's her website?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Non-pipes alternative financing.
For those of you who just joined, Agnes was making her presentation, and I believe the storm that passed through might have caused a technical problem. We're giving her a few minutes to try to rejoin our meeting so that she can
Oh, I don't have
continue.
internet, so I can't pull it up. But I think the cost to redo like a house in that zone would run, and put in a heat pump would run around $48,000.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
You see that? And with New York State and federal incentives and everything like that, the net would end up being a little under 12.
Yeah, there's an $18,000 NICEAG gas incentive and $6,500 NICEAG clean heat rebate. Then there's a federal tax credit of 30% and a state tax credit of 25%. So it comes to, yeah, roughly 11,400.
That's the CCD website.
That is for replacing an 80,000 BTU natural gas furnace and a 40,000 natural gas hot water heater with a 4-ton geothermal heat pump.
We looked at that for our house.
And she's back. She can tell us that.
There, I'm so sorry about that. I lost power there for a little bit, but I hope I should be okay now. Let me know what you guys want to do.
Continue.
Just continue. We were waiting for you. We had a question about how much money was involved in the incentive that you were talking about. But if you don't answer that within your presentation, we'll go through the discussion again to be sure we got it correct.
Okay, sure. Can you tell me what, and I can definitely try to answer all of the questions at the end. Can you just tell me what, like, was the last thing you remember? I'm sure I probably cut out.
You were.
Was this the slide that we were on?
You were at this slide, I believe.
Very beginning. I just have through Earth sensitive solutions, and that's
okay. Through
okay. Perfect. Yeah. So. Residents who are interested in accessing this additional funding will need to work through Earth sensitive solutions. They use 3 contractors, Snug Planet and Helco, which are now connected, Daily and Van He. And so you are either assigned to or can select from that group which contractor you'd like to work with. And then they will send a trained technician to do a free site check and generate a proposal at no cost to the resident to sort of see what budgeting for this new technology might look like in your home. And so then just the last thing that I would want to share before jumping into any questions that anyone might have is just to keep your eyes peeled for, these lawn signs that I've noticed a couple within the last weekend starting to go up around Lansing. So these lawn signs are put up when the contractors are going in to do the homes and to establish that that resident or that home is participating in the NPA program. So If you see any of these lawn signs, that is what that signifies. And so if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer any of those now.
Carolyn, why don't you ask your question one more time?
Well, you said that, they were eligible for 100% of the incentive program, and I was just wondering what that meant in dollars. I think we found it on your website that that means,
Yeah. So if I just sort of at the end, I threw in some extra slides in case they could help explain some questions. And so up here, I have the example budget that ESS provided, Earth Sensitive Solutions provided. And I'm just supposed to say, you know, this is not an actual proposal, but this is supposed to give you a general sense of what an estimated proposal might look like in your home. And the reason why I can't be 100% certain in telling you a number is because the financing associated, or the funding associated with this incentive is actually based off of the nameplate capacity of the gas unit that's being removed from the home. So it's actually really specifically based on everyone's unique system that they already have in place they want to tear out of the house. So in order to actually get a precise number, you would have to do the free registration and proposal with one of our registered technicians. However, from speaking with them, they've given me the sense that it's about the same amount as the statewide incentive. So it would be they're stackable, and it would be doubling what the state is already offering for doing this type of upgrade. And that would be, again, for the 100% zone, would be a doubling of that kind of ballpark number. Does that help to clarify that a bit for you?
got it, yep, thank you.
Thank you, Agnes.
Of course.
Any other questions for Agnes?
Yeah, another question. So what is the estimated timeline of the program?
Sorry, did you say the timeline?
Yeah, like when does it?
Yeah. So it began in, I believe, early September or last fall, and it's going to be running for 3 years. So it should be in effect through September of 2024.
That's 2 years.
Yeah, that'd be 25.
Or 25?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I got my years confused. Yeah, September 2025. Sorry about that.
And is there any reason to believe that the federal or the state have a shorter or longer period, or that they would change over those 3 years?
So I'm not sure what is going to be happening with the statewide. I know that actually the statewide incentives are actually decreasing, effective as of September of this year. I just got those just changed earlier this month, actually. I don't know what kind of effect this would have on that would have on this program. We have not been alerted that it would have any effect on this program. Again, so the state and federal incentives, those are being based on the type of equipment you're putting into the building, whereas this additional incentive for Lansing residents is actually based on the type of equipment that's being torn out of the building. So beyond the fact that it's the numbers are like doubled the incentive, they're actually not based on similar estimates.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I don't see any here, Agnes. Is there anyone online who has a question? You may have to speak up. We can't see all of our participants. Okay, I don't see any, Agnes, so thank you for your presentation. And would you mind sending this to us?
Not at all. Yeah, I was just gonna say I can forward you this PowerPoint presentation right now via email. Thank you so much, everyone, for your attention, for your questions. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, Agnes. You too.
Bye.
Right. Okay, next we have a presentation by Alexander Merkel. Based upon the packet of information you have in front of you.
Yeah, does everybody, because there's two copies still. If somebody doesn't have one. Mike's gonna out. Thank you, Mike. So you can kind of follow along the screen, but most of the information is there. First of all, some of you may have heard of this project before because originally Tom Schickel was involved in this. I think he had a conversation maybe with some of you, but definitely with the mayor and somebody else in the village. Tom asked me to help with the project because he's dealing with some health issues. He remains kind of a senior advisor, sort of behind the scenes, but he asked me to essentially take over. So my name is Alex Marigold. I'm an architect. I've been a local resident of Cleveland Heights since 2008. I went to Cornell before that, back in the day, so I guess I've been a local resident no longer. I taught in an architecture school at Cornell for 15 years or so, just under 15 years. So this is the project to essentially convert the existing Transact factory at 20 Womack Drive into a high-density residential area. So, Mike, if you could maybe skip to page 8 would be the best. The one with the aerial view. This stuff is still too small, and you can kind of read through it on your own. Mike, page 8, please. That's the one with the aerial view. So we're showing some of the kind of local precedents, but essentially the idea, okay, thank you. So this is the existing condition. This is the kind of sideways T of a building, which is, you can kind of see, well, I guess you can see on the screen, but the airport would be on your right, north is up, the Northwood Apartments on the left, and then there is the milk facility on the kind of diagonally to the bottom, and unutilized area. So currently it's a BTD. So the proposal is to essentially retain the existing factory building as much as possible and create a kind of a highly sort of densified residential zone. Mike, if you can do the next page just to kind of show what it might look like within its walls, what might be explained by the first image on the cover page, which is the kind of Roman amphitheater that became a city. So that's essentially the idea, that the existing footprint, and we actually would keep as much of it as possible, those utility brick walls, become either the exterior or the interior facade. And they're essentially, if you go to the next page, Mike. So this is the existing plan, and the following page. Thanks. So this is the proposed ground floor plan with the idea that there are essentially 6 building, I guess like maybe a stamp here, 6 building blocks, which are sort of somewhat independent in their nature, and some of them are just the kind of, well, the ground level is all essentially kind of walk-in apartments. But they're all sort of slightly different, and the idea is that there is a range of sort of sizes and types of places from essentially 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom. And the point of keeping the existing footprint, it basically opens up the remaining green area to various sort of amenities, basketball courts, we're potentially going to think of open swimming pool, which is right there. Utilizing the existing driveway and the existing parking lot and keeping the interior of the building as a parking deck, potentially a double level parking deck, which would free up even more parking area here as green zone. And then, if you can go to the next page. Yeah, thank you. So, and then the typical two and three level plans are basically as such. There is over the parking terrace is a big common terrace, which is accessible from the perimeter. This portion is actually part of the original, there was a courtyard once in this building, so the idea is to open it up and kind of create almost its own kind of secluded zone. Maybe it's for families, maybe it's for seniors, you know, but that's a kind of a different quality. It has its own kind of muse essentially in there. Next page, Mike, please. And then finally, the kind of fourth level, which the proposal to cap it at 45 feet, which is currently allowed in the BTD, steps back at the Northview apartments, which are right here, but then, you know, keeps the kind of street line all around everywhere else. And then, Mike, if you can go to page, well, just the next page, the massing view, can maybe best explain. So this is the view over, this is the Lomax right here, this is an existing pond, this is the existing perimeter of the factory. And like I said, the idea is you can kind of read these individual blocks, and there is the terrace, and then all of that is a kind of green zone, and this is the existing parking lot that we're more or less retaining as a.
And the buildings off at the top right corner, those are just from East Point, East.
That's
Point.
Northview. Is it?
Well, okay, I see.
Yeah. East Point is further down, right?
Thank you.
Right. Next page. So this is, again, there are a couple of these massing views from kind of different areas. You can see this would be from the west end looking south. Again, you can see the terrace, you can see the apartments next door. There's Bomax right here. Next page. This is looking at the south facade across the green zone. That's essentially a buffer zone to the south, which we're hoping to preserve as a green zone. Next page. This is like looking down the existing entry drive, so you can kind of see the building as it is. Next page. Well, we can skip the elevations because you can probably see them better on the, but essentially you can see this is the existing in red, existing factory, and this is the kind of showing the portion of it that we will keep. This part, for example, actually being behind this infill block. So, like the entire, like I said, the entire perimeter is more or less there. Sometimes it's in front, sometimes it's in the back. Next page. Next, I just want to get to the views, right? Can you scroll, skip through the elevation street. Next one. So this is the kind of a study. So this is a portion of the existing facade kind of as it is. You may probably, if you've been there, you're probably familiar. This is kind of utility brick with big windows. Next page. This is what it might look like at 4 stories, right? So the idea of keeping this part. Next. And there are a couple of, obviously, options surrounding this. Next. Next one, please, Mike. Well, I don't really see. Okay, next one. So, I mean, again, the idea is that you kind of have a continuous thing of this existing factory, which sort of unifies the thing, but then on top, above, each of the 6 blocks has a slightly different character to it, so it's kind of a much more lively residential zone. Next. So this, for example, is the kind of main entrance into the muse of block number 2 that I've talked about. So it's a much more kind of quiet residential area. You see a portion of the parking deck below there. Next. This is a view looking down the main parking drive off of Von Max. Again, this is the existing facade, and this is kind of the additional stuff on top. And this is the southern green zone without parking beyond. Next. And this is finally the kind of inside terrace that I described on top of the parking, deck. And that sort of more or less what we wanted to show you. Again, there's a lot sort of more detail about, we're roughly looking at somewhere between 225 and 250 units for this project to work. It all depends on the kind of sizes of apartments, the mixes, and obviously things like that. Again, it's all sort of pretty preliminary stuff. The idea is to kind of see what the village thinks and what comments and suggestions you may have.
So,
Whoa.
that's some kind of sign, I don't know. But so as far as the affordable housing, these are not for sale units, just rental, if I understand correctly, or they?
I think, again, as far as I understand, everything's on the table right now. It's up to the developers and their performer. As far as I understand, they're mostly interested in the idea of renting.
Yeah, price points on those, or?
They're not quite there yet.
And then, is it?
Mike's next door.
Yeah. And as far as existing hazards, on the site, it just.
Well, it's a very kind, as far as we understand, there's maybe likely some kind of asbestos that we'll have to abate as far as just a kind of a visual inspection. But it's a fairly new building. It's a kind of early 90s building. By then, it wasn't that much of an issue. But yeah, there's most likely there is something going on. But given the nature of manufacturing, it's essentially assembly. It's not like there was metal plating or anything sort of cut off, like, for example, going on at the chain factory. Scary thing.
My next question's about the setbacks. I mean, I don't know how accurate these red dots are but if you were to build on this site today, would this building, like would the west edge of the building be encroaching?
Would it be a conforming building right now?
Right.
Right now, it's a conforming building.
So these setbacks are all appropriate for the building?
I'll have to double check all that and get back to you.
I mean, it just looks super close on this, but it's not.
But if it does process to be a PDA, then it's obviously gonna create its own setback.
Right, but I'm saying like hypothetically, just.
The red dot is a property line, though. It's not a
I know, it looks so close here, but like, it's not the scale, it's not.
Well, it's a little small,
So
but
I'm just wondering what the actual setbacks are for the current.
What I do know right now is that building is a conforming building. So it's within whatever setbacks are going to be.
So what would that, that is?
Not offhand.
And then also my other question was about the height restrictions. If this is not a PDA, it can still be 45 feet?
that's
or
the
no?
height restriction at the BTD right now.
Business and tech, and then health and human
Oh, that's
resources.
because it's in
45.
business and, I was
Yeah.
wondering about why it could be so tall.
Yep.
Because it's in business and tech. So the PDA is really to build residential units in the business and tech, not the other way around.
Right.
Gotcha.
The PDA kind of tosses out the BT.
Yeah.
You sort of start from scratch.
Well-
Is that also why the setback is conforming because it just looks so close to this east corner?
It's, like I said, it's a conforming building in the B&E district.
Yeah, so what?
If it were to change districts, which is not what we're looking at.
Right.
It might not.
Yeah. No, I'm just concerned about how close these buildings are to what's going to now be 45 feet.
And that west facade proposing it to go to 45 to 30, only to 35.
This goes to 35.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole point, which you see maybe in some of the Massing's views. And that's kind of the whole argument that whenever it's joining an HDR zone so close, like there, it's 35 feet away, the idea is to keep it to 35. So it's only a 3-story
So
at that point.
So when high density residential comes with bus, low density residential, the height restriction is 35 feet. Like if it's not, if it's not, just like generally.
The height restriction is only 45 feet in those two districts, the B&P and health and human resources. Because residential is 35. Or even if it's your high commercial, it's going to be 35. So those are the only two districts that are 45 feet.
So these, in this aerial view, these are still, if I'm looking at the map correctly, I might not be, but these are residential units that are
Yeah.
also in the B and T zone? Is that what
They are currently,
Is that-
according to the
Looking
zoning,
at the
but
other map,
These are
zone,
high
are
density residential.
they zoned in B and T? It looked like on the other map.
These are not B&T.
They were always
Medium
residential.
density, and they have, the actual area got changed.
Okay. It looked like it was, oh, I see, on this map it was.
yes, maybe I didn't have that.
Okay,
map
then
there.
that's,
Yeah.
This was this district before.
yeah. So
Yeah, no, I
this-
mean, my assumption is
Map.
that it's HDR, and actually I was surprised looking at it, I'm like, yeah,
Because, yeah, it's cool.
maybe it hasn't been updated.
Yeah. This is the residential.
Right. So this thing is surrounded by the business and right, except for here.
Yeah.
Right, and then actually here, but the whole point is that we're not proposing today anything but green zone there. So, and this end, the west end, the proposal is to keep it 35 feet, whereas everything else goes up to the 4 story. Again, there's some kind of, the first page of the precedents, there's, for example, just to kind of illustrate what it might look like, the Pisgah View apartments are 4 stories plus a walkout basement. They're on Cinema Drive.
Yeah.
So, as an example.
But they're on Center Drive.
Does the height, the estimated height that you presented, the 45 feet, does that include the height of the elevator shafts?
Well, it depends on how they're designed, but we can keep it to that.
Keep it to 45?
Yeah.
So I apologize for not catching all the discussion. I was trying to help Joe resolve some technical issues. So there are 2 options, potentially 2 options. A PDA within the Business and Technology District, which would allow the 45-foot height. And the other would be that we downzone the Business and Technology District, that parcel to high density residential, which would raise the issue of 35 feet high.
But we can't do that, that's spot zoning.
And it's not spot zoning.
It's not?
No, it's a joint.
Well, that was part of the discussion with the mayor, I think, before I came on board, and kind of from a developer's standpoint,
Okay.
it doesn't yield enough of an apartment
Specific
town.
project.
Yeah, to put it plainly, right.
Hang on a second, let me make one comment. If, Carolyn and Drew, what I was saying there, the alternative is to make it a high density residential and then have them apply for an exception to go over the 35 feet to 45 feet. So there are 2 possibilities.
2 possibilities to get to the same place.
Same place. Now, Mike, can you provide any input on that? Those 2?
I was just going to say there are 2 other options that are viewed that are possible, but maybe not practical, and that would be to change that parcel to a different district, which kind of brings up spot zoning. You don't really have anything else with it. And then the other would be a use variance, which would be very difficult to get because you'd have to show hardship, unnecessary hardship, and it's really self-inflicted.
And if I may, if I remember the HDR zoning correctly, I think there is a 6,000 square feet per unit requirement.
Yes.
So that only yields about 60 units.
Yeah,
So
your density.
60
The density is.
What you're showing,
Right.
even if it were a high density residential, your density that you're showing, you'd still end up having to get a variance.
Right.
It would be an area variance.
Right.
If we change the zoning rather than create a PDA, then also the recreation area could not be as created here, right? The tennis courts and the swimming pool and all that would all be accessory buildings, or the tennis courts would not be?
Would they be accessory buildings?
Well, I know pools are accessory buildings, Lisa and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So that means they have to be within the setbacks, thank you, I lost that word.
Yeah, you'd have, like every other district, you'd have your principal, your accessory buildings, you'd have all setbacks.
So are these other rec items also accessory buildings or just pools?
The rec items,
Yeah, there's like sports here,
Tennis
no.
tennis,
it's
basketball.
not.
They're not accessory.
Any playground type equipment, any types of playgrounds or whatnot, with the uniform code doesn't recognize that as having to have a building permit, so that doesn't count as an accessory building.
So you could put that right on the edge.
But
In
they
any
are,
property, not just this.
it so happens that they're within the 15-foot accessory setback, yes.
It's 15 feet for accessory buildings.
That's gonna be part of the PDA, you can figure that out with the PDA if you want. You can
It's a clean
want-
slate.
you
If
want
we
to
do
put
a
them up
PDA.
next to the side,
Right.
that's fine, if you don't.
Right.
The PDAs are.
Well, I mean, one thing is creating a PDA, but the other thing is being cognizant of the surrounding properties. So regardless, so just thinking about
Right.
layout and how that affects all the surrounding
I have
properties.
a concern about the green space, we need to be sure that there are, with landscaping, walls between, the properties, like between, this property and Northwoods, the Eastwood apartments, East Point apartments, I walked by today, because I was curious, I could not remember. All of the landscaping that separates Transact from East Point is on the East Point property. And that was one of their requirements, was that would stay. So there's a good stand of trees, nice mature trees that would help block this unit or this development's view from the East Point apartment and vice versa. I'm not sure about the Northwood side.
How tall are these buildings, Mike? These ones over here?
I'm sure they're 35.
No, the
Neighbors.
neighboring buildings,
They're under, you talk about East Point,
yeah.
they're all under 35.
I don't know. They're rigid at 35 by the look of them, but, I mean, there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of empty room under the roof, basically.
The other advantage of that lot that Alex is talking about is to the south you have wetlands.
Right.
Yeah,
And then to your east, you have a vacant lot.
yeah. So it's just the one side that might be of concern, this one, which you obviously already noticed because you decided to make that one shorter.
Well, that's the reasonable consideration. I mean, no resident wants, all of a sudden a wall of building. I mean, that said, there's kind of a ditch separating the two already, right? So I don't know if you've been there, but it's a pretty considerable ditch, so it's already kind of separated quite dramatically.
And what's this?
That is a very loud milk processing facility.
Oh, that's Dairy One? So that's Dairy One, okay.
The vacant lot, is that proposed to be part of the PDA?
Well, that's in a way, I mean, they don't own it, so it's in a way up to you.
It's separate.
Yeah, the lot to the east is that still part of this property?
Not
Yeah,
this
it's a
one, that's the
separate
data,
lot.
that's a separate lot.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I just wanted to be sure I was right about that. And you're basically looking at 225 to 250 sewer units based upon the final design, what you can actually work into the design and make it work. Now, you realize, and I'm bringing up some planning board points because they trained me very well, that you've got to get permission from County Heights wastewater treatment plant to accept these additional sewer units.
I spoke to Brent already.
Okay.
He's aware.
Okay, good. So that's got to be part of the negotiation. I guess a concern that I have with the property is the single point ingress and egress. Traffic can only go in one way and come out one way.
Right. Well, we did consider, and that's another option, another drive, and that would be on toward the west. So in your plans, that would be somewhere.
Isn't there half
It
an
would be
acre?
somewhere
Like,
here.
truck
Yeah, I'm
rules?
kind of worried about swamp.
Well, the runoff in a way is unaffected because there's a pipe there, there's a culvert there, which we're gonna have to replace, and it goes into the ditch. The point is not to increase too much the kind of runoff zone, and we're trying to keep.
Neighboring properties over here.
Neighbor properties here, yeah. But yeah, so that's an option. It looks like, and that's obviously a discussion to have with the fire chief, but from my understanding, and again, our discussion with Tom, it looks like you can drive in and, you know, we can easily, I mean, there's a hammerhead turn in there that's not shown, but the fire truck can turn around on green zone if need be. So there's a way for a fire truck to get in and get out, but, you know, we
They
can
have
have.
rules also about it,
Yeah.
but is it?
And if this were to take the next steps of the planning board will review all of that, and we'd get together and I'd send that right to the fire chief to make sure that they were able to access all parts of the building, and that would also include whether it would be needed for another entry. So there's still a lot of work to do.
A lot of work, yeah, I agree. I'm just, at the first pass, you know, the same problem would be with, I was curious how a commercial truck, delivery trucks could get in and turn around and get out again. But it's all part and parcel of the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Could you maybe explain, you presented two options for this.
Right.
Are there certain pros and cons, difference in tax revenues or taxes for the, does not, is there a difference for the developer in terms of value by keeping it, selling for one thing versus another way, or?
PDA will give them a lot more flexibility to do what they want.
If this stays B and C?
Only if we allow it.
If it's
Right.
granted within the PDA, it's definitely more valuable. I mean, that's really what they would want.
The board of trustees, obviously working with the developer, Mike and planning board, would come up with the PDA. That has to become part of our code. And that's going to require at least one public hearing, probably two public hearings, and to present PDA and then vote on it. So all we're really deciding tonight is, do we think this project is this something that we want for the village, and do we want to proceed?
I don't think you need, we're in a position to make that. The preliminary proposal requires a lot more than is what's here.
Right.
The official preliminary proposal, that's when you would make a decision. Do we want to refer it to the planning board, or do we want to pass?
I think conceptually, we would like, we like the idea of a building finding a use that's more beneficial to the village. Conceptually, whether it's this project or a different project. I mean, I think everybody would be in favor of finding that the best uses for existing buildings that don't have to be rebuilt and live in general.
I tend to agree.
I like the having units for affordable housing, even kind of hitting the median family for more of those units would be.
Well, that's as far as I understand, originally, before I got involved, the developers were considering storage units in there.
I'm sorry.
They were considering self-storage facility, which, you know, they then decided that, you know, first of all, there's too many of those, and also it doesn't seem like it's really a good thing for the kind of village to really have. But that's, you know, that was up to you. So they decided to pursue the residential option. So here we are.
So that being said, I'm in favor of creative uses for buildings that benefit the village. I also always want to worry about the neighboring properties and their impact. So that you have that in mind is definitely the way that I think everybody would really want to lead. Protect those properties and make sure that if we did create a PDA, that it was beneficial to the village, including the adjacent neighbors.
In addition, to Bernie's point, if infrastructure, if that supports being a resident of East Point, I see the pros and cons, you know, the comings and the goings, the drainage, the just traffic and how it's grown over the last 3 years since I moved in. So I'm real cognizant of the neighborhood and people living in a neighborhood and how do trucks turn and, you know, just congestion, traffic.
Well, the stormwater would definitely have to be taken care of to the manner befitting the process investigation, so that would be for sure,
Right. Oh, but again, that's the argument of trying to keep to the existing footprint as much as possible, because we already know what the stormwater sort of does and doesn't do, and as opposed to creating, you know, a giant, you know, black island in there.
So would some of these things be available to non-residents to make it a little more neighborhood friendly? Would that be a possibility?
I mean, the
basketball courts, tennis courts.
well, I don't see why not. I mean, this is not a gated community sort of proposal here. I mean, the same way that, like, I mean, I take my kids to various playgrounds in the Lansing area. So,
So I don't know how aesthetically accurate this picture is, but as everybody here knows, I'm scarred by Andor from Star Wars. And anything that look like even whiff of Star Wars, I find to be a little bit scary. So I don't know how this is like proposed.
well, this is just pure kind of masses of a building. This is
Yeah.
not the kind of the aesthetics of it. Like I said, there are these facade studies where you can see the existing brick, and then so this is more of like what it might look like. This is literally just kind of masses of buildings of how they relate to each other, just like more like that. So I'm not sure this is
Okay,
sort of
so
Star Wars.
so we don't need windows and some
I promise there
design
will,
elements.
I promise there will be windows.
Mike,
Ron, you had mentioned to me before whether this would be more attractive to the village if it were mixed use. The possibility of maybe a couple commercial places in there, whether it be a store or whatnot, even if that is even possible.
More trucks. More trucks.
it was part of the early discussion, why we thought it was an interesting concept, was it was a mixed use.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't mean that this is not a good project, but that's what piqued my interest at the first discussion. Yeah, but things transition, and that's okay, and that's why we're having this discussion, and why the discussion will go on. Mike, what do you need from us now? What, tonight, just?
I kind of advise you to kind of absorb everything, and then maybe come up with, if you individual questions or whatnot, pull them together. Maybe have Alec back for a couple other questions. You know, I'd let it sink in a little bit.
Okay.
If there's any personal questions to me to find out any information, you know, as far as zoning or whatnot, then send them to me. We can kind of, we don't necessarily need a decision this evening.
No, I just want to make sure that.
I think when you do come back, if you can have all some kind of one of these have all the setback numbers on it, so we can see exactly how far every building's gonna be from the sides. Or is that's here right now?
Well, that's written on page 2. And again, the idea is that we're essentially keeping the footprint of the existing building, right? So basically the setbacks are where they are.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the listing.
And the listing to the left.
To the listing, wherever graphic is the listing of the setbacks. That's
So what's the blue line is? The
Blue line's the property line.
And so the parking starts how far from the blue line?
Well, it depends. So up on the front yard, 25 feet. And then,
So north is the front, which one is the front?
north is up, yeah.
No, but which is the front, when you said the front line?
Up, where it says front yard, 75 feet.
I guess I'm looking for lines this direction, maybe I'm, like, what's this line? What's this line, and what's this line? What's the measurement of that line?
Well, so that's 100 feet right there. That's the existing, this is where the building is currently.
And then what's this?
That's
property
20,
line to the
that's
property?
25 foot.
That's 25.
That's front yard 50, that's the current zone, per current zoning.
This is 50, I think.
No, well, I mean, this is the requirement.
Line is 50?
No, 50 to the property line. So the required, currently, the required front yard is 50 feet, and in this building is built actually another 25 feet back.
Okay, so this is 50, here to here.
Yeah.
And this is 25, from here to here.
Mhm.
Okay.
There's an extra thing.
Okay.
So there's actually 25
And then
feet.
what do we have on this side?
I don't remember offhand, but I think it's another 75.
You think it's the same?
Well, again, it's
Because it
the
says
existing, it's like, it's sort of, it is what it is, right? And this is
I know,
where
but just-
it is.
And then
Actually,
on
you
this
know
side,
what? Huh?
what about on this side?
That's 35.
This is 35 right here, along to the edge.
That's probably 250.
Yeah, no, that's 250.
Well, I mean, just visually, it's something along those lines.
Front yard, hopefully, and this is for. Mike, there's no setbacks for where parking is within the property, right? If you can put it on the edge.
What do you mean there's no?
Like if you're building a parking lot, it can go right to the edge of the property, right?
Usually it's 25 feet.
Oh, no, it has to be
There's
25 feet.
There's still some in the B and T that, I don't know it offhand, but there's still.
In the B&T, it's 15. So, and that's why if you read the zoning, the proposed setback description. So right now, just to show you, so this existing parking lot is within 15 feet of it, right? So that's what we're proposing here, it's keep this parking lot as it is. This one's 25, this one's 25, this one's 25.
Mike, do you have any thoughts on how much parking such a,
I think he's referring to something in his office.
I'm curious as to if he has any thoughts as to how much parking such a project should have.
Well, we were.
And that's different than based on our current zoning, because I'm not sure that it's always necessarily, especially if you create the ideal of it.
We can control that, we can say that the parking spaces cannot be smaller than what's required for residential and set that number. The thing that helps is if they can fit in 2 parking levels within the interior.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That takes a substantial number of cars off of the side
Yeah,
streets, then you have visitors.
Right, that's the
And
whole.
and you have covered parking, which in Ithaca is so great.
Yeah, and the site slopes sort of gently, so there is a kind of potential balance of cut and fill, which is a good thing. So, whatever we excavate on one side, we can fill on the other side.
Mike, unrelated to our current zoning laws, if there was a parking of an apartment building that being built with the ideal number of spots per unit, would that be 2 spots per unit? What would that be?
You're talking about a new building?
Just what would be like, in the best interest of the village in terms of how many parking spots would be required of like a new apartment building?
It would be, there's a listing in the actual zoning of how much you would have. I believe it's.
Based on square
It's based on bedrooms, wasn't it?
It's
I mean,
it's a kind of tricky one. So it's 1.5 up to a point, and then they sort of drop off. But it's a kind of
I can
formula.
find that out.
We assume, for the purposes of the exercise, it's 1.5 per unit, and we have extras in there too, with visitors and whatever. So it's on page 4, all the numbers you can take a look at. So for example, currently within the 2 deck, in both cases, it's 348 parking units, which yields 14 extra for visitors and whatever. If we're based on 1.5.
What I was going to suggest, based on Mike's comment, he would agree with this, he's answered, is that for the purposes of this discussion, if you have questions that you would like Mike or Alexander to answer, let's copy all of each other on that, Mike, and so that we all know what questions have already been asked and we don't duplicate it. That's going to happen occasionally. Try to copy everyone on that in the meantime.
Why don't you send it all to me, and then I will send one list, so not all getting a bunch of things.
That's a great idea. Do what Jody says.
And as Peter said, there are other criteria that need to be presented, which I will work with you.
Right.
As far as the A2, the appendix A2, there's other criteria that you need to present, should be done at the next meeting. And Peter had already said that, so you're not really in a position to vote for it.
No.
As Peter said.
Yeah. But I think it's an interesting proposal, and it's got a lot of possibilities. I'd like to see some, as Drew said, I'd like to see some new units in that would be affordable. County, I know, is experiencing a real problem with proper number of units, and I have concerns that down the road, if you've been paying attention to climate change, there's a lot of places south of us that are becoming unlivable due to heat. So we could have some climate refugees in this area. This is a good place to live, and it's always good to be prepared, so it won't matter. But I think it's a good project. It's Star Wars, I don't know.
We promise, we'll have Linda.
If you have a baby Yoda, toss it.
That's true, LEY is welcome.
The board does not want to discourage you presenting a full proposal.
That's right.
Yeah. Without taking a formal vote.
Yes. So I appreciate the presentation. We'll continue discussing about this. What is the general timeline for this development?
Well, this is where, in a way, to some degree, it depends on you, because whether or not, these things may take a while, but I think, as far as I understand, Transact is an option to renew or not renew their lease, I think, at the end of the year, and it sounds like all indicators are pointing that they may want to move out, at least from what I understand. So then, all of a sudden, the kind of timeline speeds up, but, I mean, we're talking probably 25, 26, something along those lines.
So we have some time to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a particular rush on this thing, but again, it sort of depends on how long the PDA takes and where it goes and all that.
Well, we are somewhat gun shy with PDAs, and I think that we would probably take a little extra time and try to do it right the first time, but then we come back and redo it.
Yeah.
So the PDA, we will work on PDA with you and ourselves and start working on it. And just if anything changes on the timeline as far as an incident happening, let us know, and if we can speed things up, we will, but we definitely want to take our time and do it the right way.
Well, yeah, no, of course, I'll communicate this to the developers. I mean, they, obviously also gun shy to the degree that they want to kind of spin the wheels without you potentially being on board, so it's kind of mutual.
Our village has always prided itself on helping people, and I'm taking this from the planning board, Lisa Schlegelman, getting to yes for the development. So we will continue working, and obviously if we hit hiccups or roadblocks, we'll know, and we will try to resolve them together. So I appreciate your time. This looks like an interesting proposal. Are there any other questions or concerns from the trustees tonight? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our next topic, budget transfers. Jody has given us our agenda tonight. So budget transfers, this is where we balance our books at the end of the year.
So just one thing is, by the time we get around to approving the minutes for this, there may be slight changes because I have no idea what's still out there. Just so you know, so this is pretty much what it's gonna be, but it might be a few tweaks. But I will definitely send you changes after the next vouchers go up.
When you say tweaks, approximately how much? Do you know approximately how dollar-wise?
1%.
Right now, I don't think
There may not be
there's gonna
any.
be anything,
Okay.
right now.
There could be a slight
But
change.
you never know. Get a Belisario invoice or something else, who knows? So, but John has looked at the list too to make sure that I have all the encumbrances that he needs, so should be good.
Do we need to go through these individually?
No.
We can basically discuss and approve or vote for on each. We'll take it
Well,
in two
no,
categories.
so basically you would do a resolution to approve the budget transfers for the general water and sewer fund and the encumbrances. And as part of the minutes, I will put this in there.
So, Joey, the encumbrances that are on here are things that will not help in this budget cycle?
These were things that were supposed to be in last year's budget and aren't getting done.
By last year, you mean ending?
May 31st.
And so these were last year's budget, so we're hoping to do them in this upcoming.
So to do these, you have to have a quote that you were supposed to amend that they just didn't get to you. So he's providing me with those. So, yeah. And then the other ones are just basically moving from one budget item to another.
And are any of these encumbrances in danger of, I think, what do you say, it's like a couple of years and you can't encumber it anymore? Or,
You can only encumber something if you have a contract, or, I mean, when things are done just by general policy, it's an estimate, that we're considering that a contract, because they are scheduled to work, they just haven't got to it yet.
So as long as the contract's active, they can go on.
As long as the estimate, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right, good.
So, and then what happens if, for instance, we would do this and say, one of them came in $2,000 less? Then what happens is you liquidate that encumbrance and it just goes back into your fund balance. Okay, so that you have it for next year.
I'm just going through this quickly. And
I did email these all to you guys.
did you?
Yeah.
I looked in my email, I just find it. Go back.
I
Okay.
know, I gotta thank you. You're like my check and balance and went through.
Well, if I don't, we send you
Mhm.
a copy myself, and I don't know if I have.
Okay.
Oh, is that why you do that? That's like your own check system.
Yeah, with my little colored star.
Interesting.
And so, yeah. Otherwise, I think, because
And like the big obvious ones are like the sewer
Yeah, sewer expansion.
expansion.
That would be exciting to get that one closed out this year. Okay. I will move that we accept the budget transfers proposed by Jody for 2022, 2023 general fund, water fund, sewer fund, and the list of encumbrances.
second,
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting these transfers and encumbrances, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, John. Mayor's comments, the only comment I have tonight is don't show up next Monday. And everyone have a happy July 4th weekend. I hope it's safe and not stormy. So that's all I have tonight. Is there anything around the table that someone would like to speak about?
no, all the meetings, I just did a joint services meeting at 5, and it's still looking for people to fill positions
That's been a chronic problem.
and trying to sort out budget-wise, how they can move money to support the program. It's just post-COVID and difficulty hiring, attracting.
Anyone else?
I reached out to Kate Shanks, who's with Guardian of the Light Partnership, and they are not planning on having any meetings for the next 3 months.
I'm taking the summer off then.
The record
They are recreating.
Okay. Oh, you got lucky. Play the lottery.
Let's see. Was it the trade? That was a trade, wasn't it?
It was a trade.
Interesting, yeah.
Makes you wonder when she
I
did
did hear
that.
about it.
Yeah.
So actually, I have no idea. I'm new to this board, so
Yeah.
I mean, this,
Yeah, yeah.
this, I didn't know if we were gonna do that
Well,
until today.
Drew?
I think I updated everybody on Trimsbury and dried trash last time, and I haven't heard any, follow up with Trimsbury, haven't heard back any additional information on some details, so. Beyond that, I just want to mention this, the community choice aggregation update. And as we heard on the CSC call, the Climate Smart Community Call, it's among it's among the highest points for CSC accreditation for a municipality to have community choice aggregation. And just kind of getting an update from Rod Howe, the town Ithaca supervisor, which you're on those emails as well.
Right.
So the community choice aggregation, which is now called Tompkins Green Energy Network, or TGEN, they'll have a presentation on July 19th at the city of Ithaca. Rebecca Evans, the director of sustainability, will be probably either presenting that or circulating the local distributed energy resource plan, which has details on, I guess I'll just leave it as they have details on kind of how to implement or what this would look like, et cetera. And that will be in front of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. These hearings, all the town and city hearings on this will be live streamed. You can attend in person. They're also on the YouTube channel. It's recorded, so you can watch it again. If you want to watch it more than once, I guess. So
Sometimes
watch
it's
it
good
recorded.
for research.
Yeah,
Research
right, you might go
reference,
back to something.
Go back in, yes.
And they'll have public hearings by the town and city. I've heard August, September, but I heard a date of September 2nd is tentatively. And they have a local power LLC, state-approved CCA administrator with, again, kind of more of the implementations on how to implement this type of community choice idea.
If you get an email, if either of you get an email with the link to that, will you send it to me? Because I will attend that. What's the date again?
The first one is July 19th, City of Ithaca. That's the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting.
July 19th?
Yeah,
Do you have time?
I do not.
Caroline, we've got a couple of emails from them recently. I will just forward those
I'll
on to you
attend that.
tonight.
MCCA meeting.
That's great.
Okay.
If you'd like, I'll just forward them to everybody.
Yeah.
Sure.
Once the plan's adopted, they also mentioned here that once the plan's adopted, it says the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to use webinars and events to start educating sister municipalities residents. Once the plan has been adopted by the city and town of Ithaca, we'll host a webinar targeted to the municipalities. So just want to kind of give a heads up on that. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to, I talked, just because we talked about where I lived before in Illinois, I had a community choice aggregation. I talked to them briefly. I'll try to keep this short. It worked very well, the community choice aggregation in the city of Village of Wilmette. The residents saved a lot of money. I think it was significantly less than, I don't remember the percentage, less than ComEd. But when they did that in 2000, just as context, 2012, 2016, they put up to vote. 75% of the community was in favor of it. It was ground only aggregation versus ComEd.
Okay.
They mentioned that village communication is key. So this is one point of advice that they got a lot of calls. The only issues they had were some people would call and say, is this too good to be true? It sounds like this is a scam.
They weren't aware of what.
Yeah. So you really got to
that's a common problem.
get ahead of it because it sounds scammy. And the communication really has to come from the utilities first. Right. They had a pause, and this is another thing that happens in these things often. You have a leapfrogging where one gets cheaper than the other, the aggregation's cheaper, then the utility's cheaper, back and forth. You kind of have these things going, so they yanked it in 2016. And they're putting it back in 2023, just got reinstated by the committee this time. The village's goal is to move to greener energy in their sustainability plan, and she passed on some helpful links, EPA links to kind of talk about if you do pitch that, go down the path, you can pitch it to residents and kind of show the change. But the advice was to wait until the utility puts out rate changes for the year, and this comment does that. I'm not 100% sure in NISAC how often they change rates, but it'd be important to.
Trying to.
What's that?
They're trying to, yeah.
Yeah, so, because in their case, I think it was May, your 100% green energy was 20% cheaper than buying individual electricity from ComEd. And then ComEd came out and the rate was lower, so green energy was at 5% higher. And then the aggregator matched the price and also threw in 5% green of that. So that you can negotiate the aggregator as well.
I think our issue is going to be one that we want to.
Well, we tag along, yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
That's why I want to know what the town is going to do.
Yeah, I think being part of this, I'm mentioning this early just so we can be part of this, so we're not going to have a lot of sway, as much sway as kind of.
No, but we're learning best practices.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So they have community solar, she mentioned. Part of the attraction was there's a long wait list for that, so this was one way that a lot of demand in the community. She did mention, in addition to community communication, municipality communication being key, that, and I have their notes too, the whole packet, if I can pass out to everybody, the one has some information, but she mentioned if something's a little bit expensive, if you're doing some kind of renewables, even 1% more, it's better to kind of have an opt-in. So rather than having a vote, you can have someone like, hey, I'm willing to pay more, I'll opt in. rather than having defaulting opt-out.
Right.
But again, I don't know how much
That's a
control, how much
decision for our
detail.
village.
But that might be something that, it kind of makes it more democratic or free choice, if you will. People can kind of have a real alternative, and kind of opt in, opt out. So those are the pointers she had.
That's
Opt-in
good
is definitely better, because people
Yeah.
don't know, they don't hear, no matter how much.
They can choose.
Send out those letters.
But she was also saying if it's cheaper, then you kind of put people in and have them opt out with her advice on that as well.
Right.
But so that more people can benefit from
And
it.
we won't know that until we go through the
Exactly.
process. But I'm glad to see this locally. I've been waiting for someone to really do something like this, so we can see what kind of problems they encounter. Because as a village, we just don't have that much staff cycle time to invest in this.
Yeah.
We've got to have people that can hold their hand through the process.
Well, that's what these companies do.
Yes.
They run it for you.
That's what they
They
say
do
they
take
do.
a
I want to make sure they really
long time.
do what they say. It's my concern. So this, working with the town, this will give us an opportunity to see how well this works for them. And they're being very open about it. They're allowing public to attend meetings and so forth. So we can actually sit in, take notes and say, this is a good thing, this is not a good thing. And sort of negotiate that and customize, tailor it for our village to what works too. But as you mentioned, NICEAG is getting ready for potentially a significant rate hike, and it might be a good time to start looking at an alternative for our village to save our residents and our businesses, I think, some potential money. And at the same time, get clean energy involved. So thank you, Drew, for getting this information. And
very was interesting, that pack. It's a different, but it was kind of, the presentation was pretty good, I thought.
Let's talk about that offline. I would like to start an online folder to just kind of collect artifacts where we can go back and give it to point or links for everyone to go in and kind of take a look if they want to.
Yeah.
So let's just work on making an online artifact archival space and use it. So I think it's good. Those will all come in handy at the end of it all too, when we start trying to. If we implement this, it will come in handy as documentation to help us get the state credits for this. So, thank you.
Sure.
Wolfgang, you have anything tonight?
No.
If there are no other comments, I will move that we adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Good, Drew. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all. It was a good meeting.